Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have Carla Magee in Tempe, Arizona, and she is the owner of MHG Commercial. Carla, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Did I get your intro right? I wanted to make sure I did everything good on that end.
You did great. I am a co-owner and the chief operating officer for MHG Commercial.
Okay, fantastic. So let's start off at the top. How did you get into the real estate space? Was it in your blood? Was it divine intervention? How did you get into the real estate space?
Well, I think entrepreneurship was always in my blood. One of my mom's favorite stories is when I was about 8 years old. Everybody else was selling lemonade, and I was like, 10 cents is chump change. So I came home with a huge cigar box full of money, and my mom was like, "How much lemonade did you sell?" And I didn't. I had cut all of her flowers and sold bouquets of flowers to create a higher price point. And she was like, "I knew then that you could only work for yourself."
Wow.
Yeah, I later, as an adult, got a finance degree from the University of Washington, go Dogs, and went to work for Boeing and Microsoft, and did all the good corporate stuff, and realized that I did not like being in a cubicle. And my ex-husband at the time and I were buying some of our own real estate and kind of like flipping it and just as like a side hustle. And I didn't like my realtor at the time. I like, she was fine, but she wasn't understanding what I was looking for as an investor. And so as I had my kids and my priorities changed, I was like, I bet I could turn this into a career. And so that's how I kind of got started in real estate.
I've had a couple guests say something similar. I saw
Yeah.
someone else who I was effectively working with, or they were working for me, and I was like, if they can do that, I'm
Right?
definitely able to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so I want to back up a bit here because you
Mhm.
mentioned finance background, Boeing, you mentioned Microsoft. Interesting background, right? Boeing in particular, I have a question about Boeing. So Boeing,
Okay.
for me, is a aviation company. It's also a defense contractor, and so they do quite a lot of work. They've been in the news with everything that's been going on. So when you were working for Boeing, was this something that you were super passionate about at the time, or was it you're out of school, finance, and you're like, well, this is how I'm going to start my career?
I was a third generation Boeing worker. So
Oh,
growing up,
wow.
yeah, in the Seattle area, there's a lot more now, and there was even once I kind of entered into the workforce, but it was always just kind of a given. Like, you just went to go work for Boeing. Like, they have great benefits and great pay and all the things, my parents told me to go look for a 401k and, everything else. And so I actually graduated with honors and a lot of accolades. And so I had quite a few offers, but I did Boeing because that's just what I was supposed to do. I
Yeah.
liked the job. I worked in commercial and on the defense side doing, a few different programs, but um, ultimately I wasn't passionate enough about it to go commute at 3:30 in the morning every day with the rest of the world.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, that's a very early time frame. That is
Yeah.
definitely talk about the defense side of things. That is definitely a defense timeline. 3:30.
Yeah.
So you go from there. Is Microsoft then the next stop?
Microsoft was the next stop just because, so I had had my first daughter, and the driving force behind leaving Boeing was there was no autonomy. It's a very archaic system and very manufacturing. I didn't even work on the plane. I wasn't a mechanic. I was just supporting it. And they wouldn't give me any grace. They would let me work from home to do overtime, but not to try and, pare down my commute, or I had a nanny at home. I could work from home, and there was nothing they were willing to give. And so that was ultimately what led me to that. So I thought, well, if I go into IT, they're a little bit more flexible. Of course they let you work from home. You're literally working from computers, and they did. There was more flexibility there.
So at that point, Microsoft, you're also then eventually looking at your own personal investment property, working with people in the real estate space. And was it at that point in time, seeing this individual saying well, I could do this, that you decided, hey, how can I make a career out of this?
Kind of. So when I left Microsoft, I was a contractor for Microsoft, which is very
Okay.
common at Microsoft, to not actually be an employee of, but to be contracted by them. And I had my second daughter. And so I trained my replacement. And because I was a contractor, my replacement was doing a fine job, and they said I didn't need to come back from maternity leave. And that's when I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. There's one employment in life that can't let me go, and that's me. And so that's really when I was like, this is the time. So I want to reinvent myself and do something that I'm passionate about, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that.
So at that point, what was your first move into the real estate space?
Well, the first move is to get your license. So I had to go get licensed. I went to work with a gal I had known previously here in Arizona. I had done some stuff in Portland, Oregon. We moved around a lot. But so I had dabbled in some houses, and for the most part, since my girls were so little, it was really part-time, which was also a good fit too, right?
Yeah.
They were small. I could just kind of do a house here and there and flip houses. And then as investors I worked with learned that I knew what they were looking for in terms of ARV and, what ROI they were looking for, then word started to get around. Then we moved here to Arizona. And a gal that I knew previously from when I had lived here before had started her own brokerage, was just starting it. And she specialized in multifamily properties.
Okay.
And so I was like, that's a good fit. That's,
Yeah.
a lot of investment. And, some of them you flip and some of them you hold on to, and you have to understand everything. And I remember she had said, as she was talking me into coming over, she was like, here's some of the systems we use to analyze the investment. She goes, it's not like we have finance degrees. I was like, well, I actually have a finance degree. And she was like, then you're golden. And so it grew from there, and small multifamily turned into big multifamily. I switched brokerages so that I could do all of commercial and not just have to solely rely on multifamily for income. And because some commercial brokerages, that's how they work. A lot of
Yeah.
them do. You can only sell one asset class.
Yep.
And so I went to work for one where I could just do whatever I wanted.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
In hearing your story, Carla, what sticks out to me is there was a kind of a set path. You talked about third generation Boeing, finance, sounds like heavy education. I come from a family where that's the case. And it honestly takes a lot of courage and a lot of like going against the grain to go do your own thing. Because sometimes, I don't know if you have this experience, Carla, but I have people who are like, where did you even get this idea? Like real estate,
Yeah.
like where did this even come from? And I had a similar thing. I was like, well, if other people can do it, I feel like I can do it. Like I don't feel like there's that much different range of skill sets. You know, I was in sales at the time, and so moving from sales to sales seemed natural. But what was probably the underlying factor for me, and I wonder if you can relate to this, is I just liked networking. Like some people feel drained by that, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, I love meeting new people. Like I'm on this show here with you, before we hopped on, we were talking about how great Arizonians are. And so
Yeah.
did you have that as well? Did you have that like natural, that networking drive to go out and meet people, and that really spurred your desire to go be in this space, in the commercial space?
Yeah. So I had a professor in college who one day just looked at me. I don't know if it was with frustration or what. And he was like, he said, "You are a social butterfly." He was like, "You need to find a career where you can go be a social butterfly." And I was like, I forget this professor's name. I was like, if I could find a career where I can be a social butterfly for a living, I will be a millionaire. And
That's exactly
it
how it
has not
happened.
been far off since. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. This is such an interesting topic to discuss. This is probably a whole other podcast outside of real estate. But when people talk about going from a very stable, consistent income W-2, like Boeing,
Right.
like we're
Who
talking the
leaves Boeing?
biggest, yeah,
Yeah.
to then going out and eat what you kill, commission lifestyle, but also having to grow within that business. It's almost like, how could someone do both? But what I've found is that there's a lot of people who see, just like you see, just like I see, that there's an opportunity there, and that's exactly how great real estate people think. It's like, in your head there's a problem, I'm going to solve it. And also markets change, seasons change, environments change. So you might not have the same strategy that you do 5 years ago today, or today 5 years in the future. And honestly, from my money's worth, the people who are the best level real estate operators have to change. They can't have the same
Yeah.
strategy for 10, 15 years.
Right. You have to keep adapting and growing. And you know what's funny is when I left Boeing, when I sat my manager down and said, "I'm giving you notice," and he looks at me and he goes, "You can't quit Boeing." And I was like, "I actually can. Watch me." So it really is a mindset of like, I locked into a career, I locked into a massive corporation that offers you anything you could ever want, right? They have free education, they have great pay, they have great benefits, unlimited potential in terms of growth, as long as you're a hustler. And it wasn't good enough. It wasn't enough.
For me, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but I didn't wake up at 3:30 in the morning, but I was doing early days and late nights selling cars. And I just sensed like, even if I got wealthy from this, that my well-being state, working all of the time here, and I would see people who were 20 years ahead of me, and I was like, I don't really want to be in their shoes. So it was
Right.
like a pivotal moment for me. I'm 31 now. I was a younger person then. Do I want this to be my life? And even if it meant like, hey, this might backfire, I was like, I have to, for myself, I have to go and see what's out there. And thank God that I did. But
Yeah.
pivoting here, Carla, so
Okay.
you, at this point, commercial brokerage, you're allowed to basically wear multiple hats. You don't just have to be in one lane multifamily, finance background. So you've carved out a niche for yourself. How did
Mhm.
that scale? What was the next steps like for you? And what was the growth process like?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Well, so I met my business partner now. At the time, he was just some random cowboy I met at a networking event. Shocker.
There you go.
And he was talking, and I had previously talked with the other brokerage about partnering with residential agents. That I think that there's a niche there and a need where there's this in Arizona, there's like 90,000 licensed agents. Like it's massive. It's
Mhm.
there's a lot of agents here. And I'm like, they get one-off clients, right? They move here, everybody loves Arizona, and they're like, now we want to move our businesses here. So they don't know who else to call. So they call their previous realtor and are like, do you know anyone or can you do this? In the state of Arizona, there's no commercial license designation, so they are able to, they should not. Your E&O, your error and emissions insurance won't cover you if something goes sideways. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't dabble in real estate areas that you have not worked in before. And I was like, there has to be a need, like build their trust. Like we don't want their client that you can sell them all the houses you want. We just want to help with this one commercial need. And she told me that was a stupid idea.
Hmm.
So I meet this cowboy at a networking event. His name is Aaron Dutcher. And he's like, hey, I need a multifamily person. And I'm like, I want to be able to do other things. And, it's going pretty well there. And so, but then I started referring him my other commercial business as I was trying to work with partnering with agents. And I had heard him talk at the networking event about partnering with residential agents. I was like, how's that working for you? He's like, oh, it's great. It's a huge referral source, and kind of went into it. So eventually I woke up one day and was like, I should ask that cowboy out to coffee because he, is doing what I think is a great idea and what we should be doing. And I'm referring him my other commercial business because I can't do it. What if I went and worked over there and was able to do all of it? And so that's where that next step progressed.
Okay.
And then, like I said, now we're business partners. I have since one of the niches I work with is a lot of residential agents, which in the residential real estate field are predominantly women. So I relate to them very well. And then I focus a lot on women-owned businesses, female ownership, stuff like that, because we're still very underrepresented in that space.
Hmm.
And in the commercial real estate space, this is a very male-dominated space of real estate. And it can be very intimidating to someone who doesn't do a ton of commercial transactions like we do to try and have that conversation. Are you being patronized? Are you being taken advantage of? Like you just don't know. And so I'm like, partner with me. I will represent you. You can, woman to woman, you can trust me. Those guys can be sharks. I know how to swim with sharks.
That's a great pitch. I'm sold.
Yeah.
So you have the cowboy partner. Is this
Mhm.
when the infancy of MHG Commercial?
Yeah, he had just started it like a few years prior.
Okay.
I came on about 5 years ago.
And so I'm imagining at this point in time, doing lots of different type of deals, not just locked into multifamily. With MHG Commercial, when you were partnering with him, was it still lots of different kind of deals, or were you narrowing in on a specific area?
No, I was starting to be able to do all the deals. The beauty of here at MHG is, there's about 20 of us. There was about 10 at the time. And between all of us, the wealth of knowledge that is there, Aaron, my business partner, has been doing this since 1999 in various capacities. We have David Pierce as an associate broker who has also been doing it since the late 90s. He's a wealth of knowledge. And then, the other agents too. It's like, so if I don't have the answer, one of us in the office does. One of the things I tell our clients is I was like, the beauty of hiring me is you're basically getting 10 brains for the price of one.
I'm sold again. How do we partner? So at this point, partnering business, are you at that point a first-time business owner on this scale? Was this your first time being in business as an owner on this scale?
Yeah, yes. So I've, done a variety of small businesses. I've always had my own LLC because we flipped houses and stuff like that. But now being a business partner with MHG Commercial, yes. And now we are scaling our business even more this year. I started the property management division. So we're doing commercial property management.
Yeah.
We launched in March. And so we're working towards that as a goal as well. So we just keep growing.
Let's talk about commercial property management here for a second.
Okay.
Let's dive into this. So I've had a lot of flippers on the podcast, short-term rental, mid-term rental, long-term rental, right?
Mm-hmm.
These folks will have property managers, and people are familiar with that. When we think of commercial property managers, there's so many different areas that can go into this space. And me, as someone who's just ignorant on it, I'm really not sure of all the different avatars of commercial property management that exist out there. Some of the things that I think about are, of course, the first one comes to mind is like apartments, right? But then you also have commercial spaces, office spaces, and so on and so forth. What are the different avenues for commercial property management?
Well, so you're almost there because commercial has all different asset types, right? Like with multifamily, for example, that wouldn't be an ideal fit for us because that is a bunch of residential leases. You just have 100 or 200 of them, but there's, federal and state guidelines about tenant rights and things like that. And it's pretty much a boilerplate lease that every tenant signs. In commercial, so I'm talking offices, industrial, retail spaces, all the like. Every lease is different. Some of them, are 1 year, some of them are 20 years, some of them are triple net, some of them are modified gross, some of them, with what they include, you have to really understand what the lease says to see what you are responsible for as the owner and as the tenant, and as the property manager, what is provided by the owner. Some of our properties are as easy as just collecting the check and sending the owner, their portion. And then some of them are as complicated as what we would call full service.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's most office spaces are full service. Like when you lease an office, your internet's included, your power's included, you just kind of pay a flat rate. And then some of like the retail spaces, if you have 5 tenants, what's their proportionate share of what they pay towards the common area maintenance costs. So it really depends on the lease and then on the asset class.
So both retail and office space, different strategies, right? And so are you, what's your perspective on performance-based retail leases when they pay a percentage of their profits to the property manager or landlord in the form of a lease?
So that's really common in retail, especially if you look at like the mall structure. What that typically means is that the landlord is telling you that they will provide foot traffic, right? That for whatever reason, maybe they're a great location or maybe they work really hard on marketing, whatever that means, that I will provide you enough foot traffic that if you generate, for even numbers, $1 million in sales, we want a percentage over your $1 million in gross sales. So if you got $1 million and $5 in sales, you'll owe 10% of the $5. So my thought on it is, and what I advise my clients is, show me where your foot traffic comes from. Show me your marketing. Show me your, traffic counts. Show me your foot count. Show me the average sales of the other retailers in your space. Are they going over those maximums? Then great, because depending on, what space they were in before, $1 million in sales is phenomenal, and going over that is well worth paying them a percentage of that.
Yeah. Have to see the numbers, right? So
Yeah.
in managing all these different types of leases, right? So I'm imagining, just as an outsider looking in, it gets complicated, right? So you have
Yeah.
a different type of lease for each individual tenant within a building. You have multiple buildings. We're talking systems on systems on systems. And
Hmm.
so when you were getting started, I'm imagining the tools that are out there to manage this have changed to today, and are still changing. How are you seeing from a, of course, no one has a crystal ball, caller, but
Yeah.
when we talk about the future, how are you seeing technology change and adapt to enable folks in your position as property managers to better able interface with their tenants?
So I think that technology is phenomenal, right? We do have a lot of systems in place because we have to be able to understand each lease and provide the tenant with what the landlord should be providing, and vice versa. One of the ways we utilize some of the current technologies and still maintain, that personal connection with tenants, owners, everybody else is, we'll use AI, call it chat GPT, whatever, to like compare leases.
Mm,
um, so we will tell chat GPT, take this lease, which is the one we just wrote, and compare it to like the LOI, for example. And the LOI is a letter of intent. That's what we submit to the owner for a tenant to say, hey, on a high level, this is what we're looking for. And then if once we all agree, we can get back a 95-page lease, which could literally take you 2 days to read.
to read,
So
yeah.
we,
Wow.
yeah. So, and not let alone red line or anything else. So one of the things we utilize with technology is tell ChatGPT, compare these two documents and look for the terms in the LOI that should be in the lease. So that took away, let's make sure what we already agreed on is in here and see what the verbiage is. So that took away, a quarter of what I was looking for. Okay, great. Check, check, check. Okay, compare this lease to our boilerplate lease. Compare the force majeure clause to this force majeure clause, so that we can start using that technology to pull out specific things that we're looking for, versus like reading through pages and page to
Pages.
just find one clause that we're looking for.
Yeah, and then you're dealing with human error and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Honestly, I actually can't imagine how people manage these leases beforehand, which brings me to another area here, Carla. So when we're talking about at scale managing commercial properties, and then we're also talking about other activities within the commercial space, managing commercial properties alone, especially at scale, seems like a massive undertaking. And
It has been.
so how does one, or does MHG pair that with other endeavors, investing and so on and so forth? And how does a company find time to be excellent at both?
People, I mean, we have really phenomenal people on our team. We're very selective about who works with us. For example, the property manager that we've hired, she has 30 years in property management. About 15 of that is commercial. So she is who manages all the leases. She uses our databases and our software systems to, set prompts and calendar times and things like that to follow up when she needs to, renew leases, stuff like that. The way we handle all the incoming leads for sales or for tenant representation or landlord representation is then a different database,
Yeah.
um, to which then we hand off the leads to the appropriate associate for that. We have junior associates that kind of get some things that need a little less hand holding. And then we have higher level associates that, can take on multi-million dollar properties. We have people that are really good at selling land. So if this is a land lead,
Mm.
it's going to go to this person to understand if there's any rezoning or anything of that nature. So we rely on our people very heavily, but we only have the best people.
This is a testament to what an effective team can do. Because I'm just thinking about
Hmm.
how many areas, just in that short discussion we just had there, you talked about in the commercial real estate space. They could each be their own separate business, and there's people I've talked to who have
Yeah.
that. But to do everything in one house is really like one-stop shopping in a sense. Are there any areas of Arizona that you focus on? I know that you're in the Tempe area, or is it all spread out over Arizona?
So our office is in Tempe. We actually just bought this office. The partners and I did. It's fantastic. It's gorgeous. But we primarily are in what we call the Valley of Arizona. So if you're not from Arizona, the Valley is massive. It's about, if you consider distance and time, you can spend like 2 hours going from corner to corner. It's about 7 million people. We also work in Tucson, which is a large city in, call it Southern Arizona, and then some of the northern areas like Flagstaff, some of the mountain areas, Payson. So we really work in all of Arizona, but one of the things we have also worked with is partnerships in other states. So we're able to offer our clients their needs in other states as well, so that as they trust us with all of their real estate investing, that we can take it all over the country for them.
Even more reason why I've got to get out to Arizona now.
Come say hi.
Selfishly, I've spoken with so many people in the real estate space on the medical side that I'm thinking I'm thinking too small. I'm thinking about single family residential fix and flips. How do I put together a syndication? How do I buy an IV drip studio? How do these things happen? And so this conversation piques my interest even more here, Carla.
Yeah.
I digress, and we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
So there's a multiple of ways. I'm on Instagram. I'm Commercial Carla. And then I share a lot of tips and knowledge on my Instagram. I do a lot of videos about commercial real estate investing, what financing looks like, what the, Phoenix area looks like. I work really hard on that to provide value to people so that in their scrolling, they're, finding videos where they can actually learn items. You can find us at mhgcommercial.com. And then MHG Commercial also has its own Instagram and social media.
Carla, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for helping educate us about the commercial property management space and so many other topics. Thank you for coming on here today, Carla.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.